20th of August 2022, and you are welcome to Newsbeat live on Metro Television. This bulletin is also live on DSTV channel 277 and also live on Facebook Metro TV Ghana and on Twitter Metro TV GH. Let's take a look at the stories making the headlines. Concerned citizens of Kukurantumi demonstrate against alleged indiscriminate and illegal sale of family lands by their chief, Dasibre Boama Dako. Coalition of CSOs mount a fierce resistance against the insurance of a bauxite prospecting license to the Ghana Integrated Aluminium Development Corporation to mine in the Atewa Forest Reserve. And in news from elsewhere, at least 15 people have been killed after unidentified gunmen stormed an upscale hotel in the Somali capital, Mogadishu. There's so many more coming up in the next 60 minutes. A group calling itself the Concerned Citizens of Kukurantumi, which is made up of various families and clans in Achim Kukurantumi in the eastern region, have demonstrated against what they claim is the indiscriminate illegal sale of family lands by their chief, Dasibre Boama Dako.
The demonstrators contend that the lands are family and individual lands, contrary to claims by the Kukurantumi chief that it belongs to the stool. They further lamented that the chief had allegedly threatened to eliminate anyone who attempts to litigate the ownership of the said lands. The demonstrators say the action of the chief has deprived hundreds of peasant farmers their livelihoods since they have been deprived of their farmlands.
He Dasibre Boama Dako ton enfuo nsase edia yantiase we koko enfuo ene enfuo a ebefuo enfuo akese a omanfo es pray omoja ni aye ana wotwa eton ema enipa bi aye nimo.
The demonstrators, led by William Kofi Okoreku, petitioned the Buakwa North Municipal Chief Executive to be forwarded to the presidency and Ochehene.
Kukurantumi lands are not stool lands. They belong to families and individuals. Our land belongs to the Ashuna family, who was the king in this town. Now the journalists have got their land. The people have got their land. Every family here have got their own land. Yes. So Buakwa lands or Kukurantumi lands are not stool lands.
The MC for Buakwa North, Alhaji Umar Bodinga, assured prompt action will be taken.
I don't know anything about military deployment to this. What I have now is their petition, which is a legitimate. You can see the maximum cooperation of the music of Buakwa North has given them. So I think whatever their grievances, they have already put it in their letter, in their petition. And the petition also is not directed to me or the regional minister or the president. They gave where the petition have to go.
Dasibre Boama Dako II, who is a Donting Hene of Achim Ebuakwa traditional area, however maintains that the land belongs to the stool.
If they care to know, they should come to me individually and come and ask me, not to demonstrate. If you demonstrate, well, I'm still here. I'm still here because the stool doesn't belong to you to give instructions. It belongs to somebody, the overlord. And the land per se is for the overlord.
Well, let's now engage our Eastern Regional Correspondent Kofi Addi on this demonstration. Kofi, what have you gathered from the group which has decided to lead this demonstration? How rampant has the sale of the said lands been?
Yesterday, everything ends on the fact that the convener, one William Okreku, ordered the farmers and other farm owners that whenever they see somebody on their land, they should attack them. Notwithstanding that, they also complained about seeing some army officers on the land. When we asked the chief, just Dasibre Boamadako, he was saying that the army officers were there to check their boundaries, and we were surprised. Now army officers come to into land litigations to check boundaries and other things. Not far ago, about 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago, the same thing happened. This same land litigation with the Abuaka State and some estate developers at Kuntusi and in Sanwom, they also complain about their lands and other things. I'm sure from next week going, maybe from Monday going, the Osajifo and people will by all means respond to this, because the people are very angry the fact that the land belongs to them, and they've seen a developer or some miners on the land without their consultation. And these things, they can't allow this to continue because it seems it happens every day and they kept silent. This time, they're not going to allow it because it shows like the overlords of these places are trying to sabotage the future of the youth on this land. And they're not going to allow these things to happen again.
Okay, Kofi, the electricity company of Ghana has restored power supply to Somenya and its environs. At around 5 p.m. Friday, people in the town were seen jubilating on the street and in their various homes. This comes after weeks of darkness. Now, Kofi, we hear the ECG transformer went in flames a few hours after the power was restored. Tell us about this.
Yeah, a few hours after not even a few hours, just 1 minute or 2 minutes after the power was restored, the power went off again. Now, the information we gathered that 2 transformers at Nuasu caught fire immediately they restored the power. So the ECG took up the power again to check the area. Yesterday night, around 10 p.m. there, but the light came back again. At that time, it was late. You could hear some few jubilation at few quarters of the places. Some of them were happy, but others were not happy. In as much as they need the light. Some of them, after speaking to them, we can see that they still don't understand why they should get prepaid into their homes. In fact, some were talking to me and they were like, they still don't like the prepaid. But some of them have accepted the prepaid because of their business. They don't want the EPC to tag their lights again. Businesses were closed. Some bed companies and some radio stations in the area were closed. The radio stations, especially like Right FM, moved their operations to Dukum for some time, hoping that Monday they will come back. But in these things, some of them are still waiting that from Monday to Friday, the ECG will come down again to trash out issues so that they won't go into this darkness again, especially the business people on the ground. So from Monday, we will start getting the feedback from the people as to how they are going to go about it. Are they still ready or not ready for the prepaid? Because as it stands now, the prepaid is a must. If you don't get the prepaid, I'm sure the power will go off again.
All right, thank you.
So that's the situation on the grounds now.
All right, thank you very much, Kwesi AJ. He is our Eastern Regional Correspondent, giving us more updates on the Somenya ECG, bout. Let's move on to more stories. The coalition of CSOs against mining in Atewa Forest, led by Arosha Ghana, has accused government of lack of transparency in the issuance of bauxite prospecting license to the Ghana Integrated Aluminium Development Corporation. This, the group said, is contrary to the Lands and Natural Resources Minister's earlier claim of banning prospecting and mining activities in all forest reserves. There's more in this report.
In the past, deforestation has been one of the hindrances of preserving Ghana's forest reserves. However, in recent times, the problem has been mining. Etiwa Forest Reserve has been at a disadvantage, with bauxite mining targeted by the government as a source of revenue for the country. Several civil society organizations have called out water drought, land degradation and resettlement as what will plague the reserve and its environs should there be a full-scale bauxite mining. At a press conference represented by 8 eco-organizations to push further reasons to stop the mining, Deputy National Director of Arosha Ghana, Daryl Bosu, said an eco space of national interest deserves all the transparency from government.
Now, this is the evidence we have gathered. The Minerals and Mining Act requires the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources to write to the Chief or Allodial holder and the relevant district assemblies to notify them of a pending mineral rights application. This notice must be given at least 45 days before the minister makes a decision on the application. It should also be published in a way that is acceptable to local communities and exhibited at the district assembly offices. Our checks with the assembly of Kofroidua and Atiwa district show that they have not received any such notices. This is a very critical part of transparency in the process of granting mineral rights.
Member of the Coalition of Concerned Citizens of Atiwa also bemoaned the role of chiefs in pushing government's agenda.
We have about 50 communities surrounding this land we are talking about. But most of these chiefs, indirectly or directly, are not in support. Why? Because they look at the little money that they will be given, or sometimes, the positions they will be called to, so they don't want to give in. Some of them even resist openly. When you want to go to the committee, as we said that we go to them, we want to sensitize them and let them understand what is happening. And some of them even want to kick you off because the Aban is bringing more jobs and you people are saying no. But we have explained to you severally that bauxite mining in Atiwa will not bring us any kind of jobs. Because ours, which have been in the mining this thing for over 100 years, could not bring 10 permanent jobs to Awaso.
Atiwa Forest stands at a crossroad of mineral and water supply.
We will be speaking to Darrell Bonsu, who is the Deputy National Organizer of Arusha, Ghana, in a subsequent news bulletin. But moving on, organizer of the Edru Woso Island Health Walk, Nana Boache, is calling on the leadership of the New Patriotic Party to allow for presidential aspirants of the party to begin campaigning ahead of the elections. According to him, the euphoria surrounding the presidential elections cannot be succumbed with party laws. His comments come on the back of calls by the party for party members to desist from campaigning until nominations are officially opened.
We might not get the same enthusiasm and the same euphoria. So at that point, we disagreed with our general secretary, which in politics and in any democracy, we agree to disagree, which is not an offense. So yes, the work went on and was successful. And there's one thing that as a party, we need to take from what really happened in Kumasi. It has shown that, yes, the people still love us as a party. Party people still love to be within the party and help us organize, reorganize, and revitalize this party within their various constituencies and win the elections. Hence, if the party is seeing the euphoria around the party activities geared towards the presidential primaries, then I would also use this medium to ask. As I said, we had wanted to meet the National Party and discuss, but I'll use this medium to also plead with them that looking at the euphoria surrounding presidential primaries, it is better we discuss a way to do this early and get it off the table, because if we keep dragging it, that per our constitution, we need to do it a year before elections. And people are also eager and anxious to start working and talking to polling station executives who are going to be form the major part of the delegates that are going to go into that conference. People would, one way or the other, inadvertently, consciously or unconsciously, break the rules. It won't be their fault because assuming, Moro, you're a polling station executive, you have 3 other polling station executives living in the same house with you. I am someone that believes in Alan Kojuchi Martin to lead us. Can I come to your house and visit you and talk to you and the other 3? Will that also be breaking the rules? Because we are not supposed to gather people under the guise of organizing a program whilst it is intended to benefit the other.
So yeah, I did say that we'll be speaking to Darrell Bonsu, who is the Deputy National Director at Arusha, Ghana, the organization leading the coalition of CSOs against mining in the Atiwa Forest. Good afternoon, Darrell. Now, please summarize all the concerns the organizations, together with other CSOs, have raised with regards to this license for prospecting at the Atiwa Forest.
Thank you very much, Harriet, and good afternoon to all listeners. So basically, we are making a statement that government has not been very transparent and inclusive in its approach in terms of plans to mine bauxite in Atawa Forest. Our message is also that we are not against government's plan to develop the integrated aluminum industry, because we see it also as a good prospect for the country to increase its books in terms of revenue and all of that. So we are really proud of that. But we think that the government must be very judicious and must also be responsible in the way we go about this decision. And that is why we are saying that right from the beginning, GAIDEC has been very secretive, uninclusive, and not transparent in the processes to really acquire some of these. And even as we speak, we know that there's a case in court. So what is government's respect of the rule of law if they can, behind the case that is ongoing, go ahead to process such a prospecting license? And that's why we are saying that we do not agree to this, and we are going to strongly resist it. Again, we've been indicating that government need to rally behind the Ochehene's call for a national park for Atawa and make all attempts to protect this forest, because we think that it's a critical watershed and all Ghanaians deserve to benefit from it, and not just because we've seen minerals, we're going to just dig it up and destroy it.
Okay, so when you say the actions of government constitute a breach of the Minerals and Mining Act 703, what exactly are your concerns?
So basically, before you get any right to mine minerals in this country, there are certain procedures. You start with exploration and all of that. But once it's a very sensitive environmental landscape, you need to undertake an EIA. We understand GAIDEC says they've done an EIA, but there's never been a public hearing on it. And also, once you go for a prospecting license, the application needs to be posted at the various assemblies for citizens to comment on it and make input. That's never happened. So we think that this whole process of acquiring also this concession, or this right, prospecting concession, is not transparent, and is a breach of the administrative protocols regarding mining in this country.
Okay, have you petitioned Parliament to intervene in this matter, and what has been the response?
Well, at the moment, there's a lot of discussion. I mean, this information, we just got it, I'll say Thursday, and that's why we held the press conference on Friday. We are going to take several actions, and because the case is also in court, we're also going to let our council look at the issue, the developments coming up, and then we'll advise ourselves accordingly. But of course, if we see the need to petition Parliament, we'll do that.
All right, thank you very much. We have been speaking to the Deputy National Director of Arusha, Ghana. Moving on, private legal practitioner and member of the NDC communications team, Beatrice Annan, says Vice President Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia has no moral right to contest as flag bearer of the NPP due to his abysmal performance as head of the economic management team.
I have consistently made the point that what magic wand is left again, that Dr. Bawumia cannot salvage the sinking economy. We practically do not have an economy as we sit here, and he does not have any magic wand to solve the problem, even as the chairman of the economic management team.
You didn't vote for Dr. Bawumia, you voted for Nana Akufo-Addo. Why are you blaming Dr. Bawumia for all of this?
Dr. Bawumia is the chairman of the economic management team. In fact, in the words of Nanado, he said that the reason he was bringing Dr. Bawumia was because he had all the formula to solving every economic equation in the country. The story cannot be different after 6 years. He said that the reason he was bringing him was that in President Kufuor's time, he was at Bank of Ghana. He helped President Kufuor stabilize the cedi to one cedi to $1. So it cannot be that the same man under whom the cedi is running. I kept some $1,000 this year at the time when it was 5,000. Today, the same money is 10,000, and it has even gone beyond 10 cities. Unemployment, 30 years high under Dr. Bawumia. Inflation, we can't even talk about it, 31.7%. Every macroeconomic indicator is in a mess. And the MPP wants us, in addition to the mess that we find ourselves in, to be discussing their inability to manage their leadership. It's just a reflection of what their ideals are. The people who are championing for Dr. Bawumia to be the flag bearer, it is only for one reason. They want to paint the MPP as a non-account party, as we've come to know it.
Away from that, now government spokesperson on governance and security, Palgrave Wachidanka, says although President Akufo-Addo has revoked the appointment of Sarah Joasafo as Minister of State, only the people of Dome Kwabenya can vote her out as a member of Parliament.
Okay. She represents her constituency, for which reason the Constitution and the framers of the Constitution mandates that you pick 2/3 of your ministers from Parliament. And so she was appointed as the Minister for Gender and Social Protection over the period for the second term of our government. And she served well, clearly. I think that the entire government had been extremely lenient and also extremely caring. Ajasafo says that obviously, if you are a minister, you also have overriding responsibility for your constituents.
Right.
And every single minister who is appointed in our government, who is also a member of parliament, performs their duties.
Okay.
So if the president has revoked your role and you have accepted it and thanked him for his benevolence to be able to serve in the government, and you have also stated that you are continually remaining in the party, going to serve your constituents, it's all well and good.
Okay.
Because we cannot say that we would deny her of her right. The constituents would have to decide in another election and primaries if they don't want Ajasafo to be their representative.
Meanwhile, communications team member of the NDC, Beatrice Annan, says the acceptance letter on the embattled minister to the president about her revocation was sarcastically written. According to her, the president is afraid of Sarah Ajasafo.
Now that they took her out from the executive position, they've come to Parliament. She was good for the e-levy, but when she will not succumb to the whims of caprices of this government, she has to go out. And I've heard the MPP side in Parliament say that they want to take Ajasafo out and she has to lose her seat. I think that she deserves the Odi Alterum Partum. She deserves to be given a hearing. I would treat her response to the president as sarcasm. I think she was being sarcastic. I think she was telling the president that you may have made a decision. I don't give a hoot about it. Because for more than a year, she was not at post. What new things? What new things? So apart from the largesse she got off the record from government. But I believe strongly that the government is afraid of Ajasafo. Remember, she was a minister of procurement. And this is a government that has run a procurement economy than anybody. We have an example of the Sputnik V. We have the example of ABAJ making almost 11 million cedis in the space of 1 year being at the procurement office. So if the procurement board can make that, you can imagine what other government officials have made. With her as a minister, she has a lot. And so they are careful and they are treating her like an egg, because if she decides to speak, this is the end of the government. It possibly can be the end of this government. And that's why they are. So I'm sure her response to the government is just to say that, you know what, maybe you can drink some water. I am not coming to speak anytime soon. But we hope that, like Mr. Ejakun, when the time is right and the dust settles, she certainly should.
Well, let's take a look at the story still to come on the news.
What we need to do is to focus attention on survivors. The way the disease was managed from the beginning was very, very stressful.
Welcome back from the break. Now, a campaign to ignite commitment to address challenges associated with early childhood development in the country has been launched in Accra. Launched by the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection, the I Will campaign will also serve as a rallying call for parents, guardians and stakeholders to increase their commitments towards quality caregiving practices for children aged 0 to 8. The campaign was launched in partnership with UNICEF, the Ghana Health Service and the Ghana Education Service.
The aim of the campaign is to promote quality caregiving practices for children aged 0 to 8 years with an objective of promoting an integrated approach to ECD communication. It is also to ensure that all children 0 to 8 years, especially the most vulnerable, survive, thrive, and develop their maximum potentials. According to her, the I Will campaign has been designed to help address the challenges associated with the care of children 0 to 8 years and serve as a rallying call for parents, guardians, and other stakeholders to increase their commitment towards the development of children in their early years of life, while acknowledging the power they have to ensure desired outcomes.
The I Will campaign is a joint partnership between Ghana Health Service, Ghana Education Service, UNICEF, and the Ministry of Gender, Children and Social Protection. The I Will campaign is an early childhood development initiative that seeks to ignite renewed commitment among parents, guardians, and other stakeholders towards a desirable caregiving behavioral change that guarantee optimal development of children in their early childhood period.
The gender minister said this campaign is therefore structured to give parents and stakeholders an opportunity to pledge their commitment to implementing desirable behaviors, which will facilitate effective early childhood development in Ghana.
As an integrated social and behavioral change program, the campaign brings together key components of the early childhood care and development in one basket. The Ministry for Health talks about nutritional value of the children and welfare. The Ghana Education Service talks about the early child learning process and responsive caregiving. In view of this, the campaign ties in with other existing programs such as the Ghanaian Against Child Abuse, that's the GACA, Right Age Enrollment Drive, among others, considering that early childhood is a cross-cutting issue.
She therefore called on all stakeholders to own and champion this campaign and also mainstream it into all existing ECD programs.
Away from that, now senior lecturer and head of Department for Mental Health Nursing at the University of Ghana, Samuel Ajololo, has urged the public to desist from stigmatizing COVID-19 infected persons and healthcare workers. According to him, the disease, which infected hundreds of healthcare professionals and also resulted in the death of several persons, requires a collective approach to fight.
By increasing the risk of isolation, fear, stigma, and abuse, COVID-19, however, increased the risk of psychiatric disorders, chronic trauma, and stress, increasing to suicidal behavior by some victims. The World Health Organization estimated that 650 million Ghanaians suffered a severe mental disorder, and a further 2,166 million are suffering from moderate to mild mental disorder. Samuel Ajololo is the senior lecturer and head of mental health nursing department at the University of Ghana.
5 out of every 10 survivors reported that they were treated as outcasts. Okay, and then we also saw that 2 out of every 10 also reported some humiliations in the communities. And of course, the most worrying was the fact that 2 out of every 10 reported that life isn't worth living, which clearly is an indication of suicidal tendencies or suicidal ideas.
He stressed on the need to strengthen the country's mental health support system.
What we need to do is to focus attention on survivors. The way the disease was managed from the beginning was very, very stressful. People were just ambushed and carried into their cars and created a lot of scenes. So that created community dissatisfaction for people. The idea is that, okay, you have the disease and you are hiding a community, you want everybody to die. So when you come back and they see you, they don't want you closer to them again. So we know that diagnosis in general comes with some level of mental distress. We need to strengthen our mental health support system. I do appreciate that in this COVID, a lot of mental support system went into the management process. However, this appears isolated.
He has, however, called on COVID-19 survivors to serve as ambassadors to help the next generation appreciate life better.
If you have recovered successfully, you are a resource, you are a pool of resource, you become a resource person. And so share your experience, come out boldly. As long as you didn't die, there's a reason why you did not die. You could be a savior. And so come out, share your experience. In that way, people will believe, for example, that this pandemic or this disease exists.
The impact of the pandemic on the psychological well-being of citizens is yet to be appreciated. However, COVID-19 is not a death sentence, hence the need to end stigmatization. Zoe Anita O'Day, Metro News, Accra.
The Chief Executive Officer of the National Health Insurance Authority, Bernard Okoboy, is calling for a national dialogue aimed at increasing premiums paid by Ghana's health insurance holders. He made these comments on the sidelines of an annual general meeting of the Breast Society of Ghana. There's more in the following report.
The Breast Society of Ghana has been at the forefront of an increased attention and support for awareness, early diagnosis and treatment, as well as soothing care for women suffering from the disease. As part of the efforts to improve survival, the Society organized its third annual general meeting. Even though breast cancer and other diseases is covered by Ghana's health insurance scheme, the authority is hoping to add other ailments like prostate cancer. The CEO of the National Health Insurance Authority, Bernard Okoboy, on the sidelines of the meeting, called for a dialogue on the increment of insurance premiums.
So with 30 cedis, whoever you are, if you are not a former worker, you can get care for 1 year with 30 cedis. By the way, these 30 cedis was the same amount we were paying 12 years ago. Now this is where we come to. This is a country where we've paid the same premium and processing fee for 12 to 13 years. Is that realistic? Because of politics and other things, when you say, can we look at it, everybody goes like, hey, why do you want to charge us more? Health insurance is for all of us. It's for you. It's for me. It's not for the government per se. It's not for Okoboy. All of us can start the conversation. When I start, I am in a conflicted position. They will say Okoboy wants more money. So he says that the premium is not enough. When you start, people will not talk like that. They will go like, well, okay, now let's talk about it. What's happening? That is when people go like, oh no, it cannot be that we'll pay the same value or amount for over 13 years. It is not real. That one it will be easier to get a review. But I cannot. I can, but I would not like to start it.
President of the Ghana Breast Society of Ghana, Dr. Florence Dide, urged women to be on the lookout for abnormalities in their breasts.
We should be, what we say, breast aware. Examine your breasts every month as a woman. Every month, examine yourself. If you notice any change, don't be afraid. Go to the hospital, seek medical attention. Very often, the changes we see are not even breast cancer, but even if it is, then that's the road to starting the treatment and getting a cure. So I would say, let's examine ourselves. Let's go to the hospital to be examined, or when we find an abnormality, let's go and have it checked out. And as we get to 40 and beyond, let's have regular mammograms because they can also pick up breast cancer early.
Now, Chairman of the Board of Directors at the Chemu Senior High School in Tema, Dr. Charles Wilson Amwa, is lamenting the lack of infrastructure in the school despite its good academic performance. According to him, students have had to sit under trees and corridors to study. There is more in the following report.
Established exactly 40 years ago, the Chemu Senior High School is one of the best schools in the country. Over the years, students from Chemu Senior High School have excelled in the examinations as well as various activities. The school even made it to the final stage at last year's Math and Science quiz. However, authorities and parents are worried about the lack of infrastructure to keep the standards of academic performance. Chairman of the Board of Directors of the school, at the launch of the school's 40th anniversary celebration, mentioned some of these challenges.
Currently, the school doesn't have a bus. And so, in case of emergency or during sporting activities, the school has to fall on private GPR2U to ferry in students to wherever they are going. At the last Science and Maths quiz, which we placed fourth, or which we were at the semi-final, the school had to go to Committee 1,
the Lorry Park to hire a bus to Kumasi.
Member of Parliament for Tama Central, Ace Hansen North, who is also an old student of the school, believes they deserve better and called for help.
It needs support, it needs help, it needs facilities. You can tell from what we've seen that the school desperately needs help.
Headmistress of the school, Vicentia Enina J, is hopeful that all students and well-wishers will come to the aid of the school.
Now, the leadership of the Social Security and National Insurance Trust have indicated they will this year roll out a comprehensive campaign to register self-employed persons and informal sector workers onto the scheme. Director General of SNIT, Dr. John Ofori-Tenkwan, said the campaign will also seek to improve transparency and accountability.
The regional sensitizing exercise by the Social Security and National Insurance Trust (SNIT) is aimed at educating leaders of the Trade Union Congress about the scheme and its operations. Addressing participants, the Director General of SNIT, Dr. John Ofori-Tenkwan, said such engagements help to address concerns of members, clarify misconceptions about the operations of the trust, improve transparency and accountability, and enhance stakeholder buy-in.
I remember the first time we did this program, the kind of questions that we were getting. In fact, the program came about on the back of a lot of the citizens that people were giving to SNIT on how meager their pensions are. And a lot of them thought that the SNIT scheme was sort of a gratuity or ex gratia, so to speak. That after working for so many years, people should get more than what they are getting.
Dr. Ofori-Tenkwan said that SNIT will this year roll out a comprehensive campaign to register self-employed persons and informal sector workers onto the scheme. On his part, Deputy Secretary General of the TUC, Joshua Ansah, entreated participants to take full advantage of the engagement to become better equipped to educate the workers they represent. In his opening remarks, the Tamale Regional Chairman of TUC, Joseph Kondateri, commended the trust for continuously engaging workers and leadership of the TUC.
I think don't live here. I think we have invited a lot of our constituents coming from all the districts to be part of this program. And this will actually give them the benefits or chance to make sure that they will also carry out the message of SNIT to their various locality, and then they make sure that people are encouraged to get registered with the Ghana Bank and subsequently merge
We're going for a quick commercial break. We'll be back with business and more. Stay tuned. It's time for some business news now. Chairman of the National Development Planning Commission, Professor George Janbafo, says Ghana still faces a financial gap of about $450 billion to be able to achieve the Sustainable Development Goals in 2030. He was speaking during the launch of the 2022 Voluntary National Review Project launch.
During his speech, the National Development Planning Commission Chair, Professor George Janbafo, who spoke on behalf of the President, Nana Akufo-Addo, acknowledged the efforts government is making to actualize the SDGs in the country. He mentioned that the rise in inflation coupled with the coronavirus, among others, has slowed down the progress that was being made. He added these shortcomings should strengthen Guineans' resolve to achieve the SDGs.
According to the 2021 SDG report, some 124 million people have been pushed back into extreme poverty. Despite the economic and geopolitical challenges, government will continue to take smart and bold decisions necessary to turn our current challenges, whilst ensuring that the country is on the right trajectory for an inclusive and sustainable development.
Director General of the NDPC, Kujo ACM, stated that the report shows there have been significant gains made since the first review in 2019. He added the Sustainable Development Goal 14 in particular should be given more attention.
The 1 month moratorium on fishing has indicated a significant improvement in the last 3 years. And this is something which came before the UN during the presentation, and we were very happy. Immediately attracted support. And some of the areas is to look closely at the blue economy and how we can develop it. The ocean, the fishes, all the tourism activities around that. And this is an area where we are collaborating with some of the UN agencies, including UNESCO, and the World Bank itself has shown interest in this area.
According to the Queen Mother of Dejra, Nana Sarah III, the SDG, calling for gender equality in all spaces, is gradually being realized.
Government is doing all that he could to promote us. So it's left with us to also make effort. What we have to do is to come together and follow the goals that the government wants to push forward.
UN resident coordinator Charles Abani also shared his views with Metro TV.
As we know, COVID-19 and more recently some of the shocks from the global system are impacting Ghana's achievement. So I think there are areas where progress was made on women's participation on a number.
An Exporters Association of Ghana has called on the government of Ghana and the Food and Drugs Authority as a matter of urgency to come to the aid of Ghanaian wheat flour producers. It wants government to ban the influx of smuggled wheat flour from Cote d'Ivoire to save the local flour milling companies.
We want government to understand that there is a challenge here with the flour mills. And so because of the flour mills challenge, we are saying that the government should at least see to it that there's a total ban on this influx of flour into the country, because this flour mills in Ghana import the wheat, pay duties, tariff, clear to their factories, produce with this high utility tariff. I think this week they have increased electricity and water as well, remember. So it becoming a high cost of production. And so their price with the product come from Ivory Coast. That's what we've identified. And many of these influences come from Ivory Coast. The Ivorian government, because of this crisis, the Ivorian government of food crisis, global crisis, the Ivorian government have given tax exemption to their millers, has given certain tax. They have absorbed some of the taxes, and they've asked the millers, the Ivorian millers, to produce the wheat flour at a cheaper price and at a cheaper cost for their national. They made it clear to the Ivorian millers that if you produce the flour, because you have absorbed your tax and other things, we are giving tax exemption. You are not supposed to export it. It's not supposed to leave the source of Ivorian. It's supposed to be consumed. So that means they are getting food security for their staff, for their citizens. But it found its way to Ghana. So our flour millers, with these huge taxes they are paying and huge utility tariff, get to the market. And the major market in Ghana is Accra and Ashanti region. So when you get to Ashanti region, you have this influx of French going. The inscriptions are done into French. They are done into French. So and then it's cheaper. So it is eating into the market share of.
That's it for business news. Let's now take a look at some entertainment stories. Ghanaian gospel artist and songwriter Sisi Baidu has released his much-anticipated album titled The Revelation Album. This is the gospel singer's second album after releasing his first, Splendor, in 2018. The album was launched at a listening session held here in Accra.
The listening session cum launch saw the gathering of fellow gospel musicians such as Eugene Zuta, Carl Clotte, Kofi Owusu-Pepper, among others, gospel music enthusiasts, crew members of Crafted Nation, and the media. Speaking to Metro News on the album launch, Sisi Baidu was excited about his new project.
I believe that the album is filled with a lot of songs that will be a blessing to the body of Christ. If you are experiencing any darkness in your life, anything that you don't have clarity on, I believe that this album will bring clarity, will bring light, will bring vision into your life. There was a lot of money that was invested in this album. We wanted to have an international sound to it. So we had to get people on board, people outside Ghana and all that, play on the song, do touches on it here and there. So we have a lot of, you will enjoy it when you listen to it. We spent a lot of money, producing it. Yeah.
Other people at the event also spoke to Metro News.
I think that I've listened to some songs on the album. I believe it's a blessed album. CC is an amazing songwriter, an amazing vocalist. I believe that he has a nice way of putting God's blessings in a song that it makes you really think and reflect on them.
I mean, it's beautiful. I mean, you will notice that there's a lot of heart and a lot of hard work has gone into it. And there's so much anointing in just listening to the songs. And I mean, this is a product that is going to be a blessing to many people as they listen. So I'm trusting God that the Lord would make that favor happen.
The brand new album, The Revelation, is a compilation of 14 spirit-filled songs and features gospel musicians Philippa Jale, Sheila Joy, Sandra Boachidua, and Nigerians Theophilus Sunday and Toby Osho.
That's it for entertainment news. Up next, international news.
At least 15 people have been killed after unidentified gunmen stormed an upscale hotel in the Somali capital, Mogadishu, on Friday evening, officials said, following gunfire and large explosions in the area. Harriet Addi, a doctor at Medina Hospital, said that the death toll was likely to rise and many victims were in critical condition. Medina is one of the two major hospitals in Mogadishu, where two of the victims from Hyatt Hotel attack were admitted to. An explosion that erupted inside a mosque during evening prayers in Afghanistan's capital on Wednesday killed 21 people and injured 33 others, according to a spokesperson for the Kabul police chief. Security forces were investigating the incidents in the capital's police district 17. The spokesperson added, healthcare organization Emergency said it's treated dozens of victims.
Well, that's it for the international news. Before we go, let's take a look at the stories that made headlines. Concerned citizens of Kukurantumi demonstrate against alleged indiscriminate and illegal sale of family lands by their chief Dasibre Boama Dako. Coalition of CSOs mount a fierce resistance against the issuance of a bauxite prospecting license to the Ghana Integrated Aluminium Development Corporation to mine in the Atiwa Forest Reserve. And in news from elsewhere, at least 15 people have been killed after unidentified gunmen stormed an upscale hotel in the Somali capital, Mogadishu. Well, that's it for the news at 12. We came to you live from the Ikuya Boima studios. My name is Harriet Addi. Have a good afternoon and enjoy the rest of our programs.